Meow, 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 blah, 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 blah. Mwah, 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 wow, 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 wow. Mimini, mimini,
What a vocal warm-up.
mimini, mimini. We should sideline the wonderful Steve Joll and his amazing efforts and just do like a cappella, whatever. Just sing Bohemian Rhapsody as a
Yeah.
crew on the way in. Yeah.
Are we doing this now? Is this how we open our shows going forward? Is we're just gonna chat? Because I'm cool with that.
No, part twos. That's what we get. That's what we do.
Sorry.
But well, now I'm mad.
Well, it's my fault. I led us astray.
You led us astray. It's been recording for 37 seconds. This is all on you.
Unbelievable.
Start spreading the news. Old world's here to stay. You want to be a part of it. That old world charm.
Hello, wonderful denizens of the old world. Welcome back to another episode of that old world charm. This is another world. It's a brand new world, brand new old world. We have the full triumvirate of the old world with us. We have Peter the Falcon. Hello, my brother.
Caca.
That's the one. That's the one we've all been looking forward to. Another strong start by Peter. We've come to know and love. And the sweet meat himself, Danny McDavid. Hello, brother.
Hey, how's it going, Adam?
Good. On request from many of our lovely patrons, and because we have an arcane journal looming, we have decided to spend this episode reviewing Dwarven Mountain Hold's army book, giving you guys the lowdown of what you can expect, and then being able to build upon that in lieu of what we did last time, where we didn't have the Greenskins book done by the time the Arcane Journal came out, and chagrin on our faces, we didn't plan that one appropriately. But here we are, we're still learning, we're still forming, we're norming, we're all storming on all those other things, and those things that they put up on whiteboards in grade 6, group formation. But anyway, we're going to give you guys our deep dive into the stunties, into the long-bearded mountain dwellers, miners. And yeah, full review is coming. We're going to be doing this as extensively as you come to expect. But gents, hot freaking takes and first impressions of this book. Danny, what do you got for us?
They're tough, they're short, and they don't move very fast. And war machines aren't as important anymore, so this becomes kind of a slow combat army. I don't know. It's kind of a cool concept.
It is for sure. And yeah, I think the adjustments made, if we were to look this linearly from 8th edition through to, pseudo, what this is 9th edition of fantasy, they took the changes worse than most. Is that safe to say, Falcon?
Yeah, I think so. Ridden monsters being so hard to kill makes cannons less viable, and cannons and grudge throwers used to be amazing, and they're less amazing now. It's not to say they're not useful. I still think there's a place for them in lists. But like a key portion of that army is gone now. The fact that like monstrous cavalry is, and just like fast moving armies in general seem to be a lot of the play, also hurts dwarves because they're so slow. So it's not to say that it's a bad army. I do think that there are some competitive builds for dwarves. It's just you have to have a very specific mindset when you're going to play dwarves.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people have said that it's almost a 50% reduction in the efficacy of and necessity of war machines in the game. And that's like 50% of the core identity of this faction, of this, race, whatever. And it is, surprising to see the changes. They still have some of the best freaking characters in the game. They still have possibly the best rank and if you remove the movement stat, the stat lines of the units we're about to unpack are some of the best in the game, and they have some of the best rank and file like blocks of infantry, which is a hard thing to say. A lot of armies' bricks of infantry are generally the worst things that they have going for them in the best echelons of lists that we can make. But let us jump into the army list here. So Dwarven Mountain Hold's army list. Those following along at home, this is only page 11 of your Good Guys book, Forces of Fantasy, if you want to follow along with us at home. And you can see what we see as we flip the pages. But gents, is there anything spicy on this army list page? I don't see anything. It's pretty much one of the most conventional that you'd find, like very akin to Empire. But Danny, anything spicy here?
I'm I haven't seen it play out much, but I'm kind of interested in like there's not a limit on the number of individual dragon slayers you can take. And so I think there might be stuff there because like a bunch of like single unbreakable toughness 5 characters seems like really annoying.
Man, I'm having a lot of success with Gorges at the moment for very similar reasons.
Oh,
of course,
cool.
Gorges get to do the ambushing and shenanigans and stuff. But when you are an army that struggles with chaff, which this one is, they sit in a pretty spicy, pretty special place. And of course, we are reviewing this with the looming Arcane Journal, and we know we're getting Ungrim in there, so you can almost expect there's going to be a Slayer army list, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, it looks like they're bringing Doombringers back to the guys with the whirling axes. I'm really afraid of their rules.
Yeah.
Oh, dude, it's going to be so good.
I just hope they also bring back the axe thrower, and I want it to be the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, they previewed it, man. They previewed it in the.
Oh, that's thing. Right, they did.
Yeah, it's coming.
Was Malachi even alive during the old world?
You know, let's just say yes.
Wasn't he the inventor of that?
Yes, but yeah, here we are. We are stringing the lines and stringing the long bows necessary to make the old world what it is. We are already up to first of our characters of the Dwarven Lords. You get a king for 125 and a Thane for 60. Falcon, how good are these guys? And give us the lowdown.
So they both definitely have their place. Like the king is a slow-moving chaos lord, is the best way to put it. He's strength 4, toughness 5. He's weapon skills 7, initiative 4. He's got 4 attacks, leadership 10. The big thing about dwarven characters across all varieties is comes down to their magic items. When we get to it sooner later, in that they basically upgrade items that are available to them rather than getting their own unique ones. So the fact that you can take a great weapon and stack a whole bunch of extra stats on it is really unique to dwarf lords, and that's a really cool ability. Kings also come with full plate, so they're already base 4+ armor. They've got a cool mount option in shield bearers, which gives them an extra 4 wounds and 3 extra attacks from dudes underneath them. You can also instead take an oath stone to make people declare or to make people accept challenges against you, which is interesting. And you get the Ancestral Grudge special rule, which is actually, I think, in the current meta, quite strong with a few units in the Dwarf Lords. Because it gives you hatred against enemy characters. Not only that, it gives it to any hammerers or longbeards that you choose to put one of these guys in. And hammerers in particular are a unit that I really like. So giving them rerolls to hit against all of these super characters that people are running, these 300 point, 400, 500 point monsters, I think is a really cool extra ability to have in your pocket.
I do love the wording of the Oath Stone as well. It doesn't say that this character must issue a challenge. It says if you issue a challenge. So you can still like sub it in with your champions and whatnot. Or if they issue a challenge, you can still refuse if you like. And that can be really powerful, especially when comboed with, like you said, the Ancestral Grudge. To really pop off.
Dwarf Lords have great combat stats, right? Like weapon skill 7 is amazing. Like that is that's a very good ability right there. And then base toughness 5 is really solid. I mean, they're a great character, and also the leadership 10 is very rare in this edition if you're not an elf. And so very welcome for Dwarf Lords to have that access.
I would like to point out it is a very steep points hike. So you're double +5 from going from a Thane to a King. I could see a world where just taking multiple Thanes is better than taking, one huge, gigantic, ticked out King. I'm not sure where that meta sits right now, or whether that's better or worse, but I do love the idea of just having some, Thane kitted up defensively as hell on an Oath Stone to just be like, well, here's my +7 or whatever combat. That won't be +7. But here's my enormous combat res dump and a guy you can't refuse challenges of. Should your dragon decide to charge my brick, he cannot win this fight. And then you break him. Then you start legging it.
Yeah, I mean, just when we go over them, like the Master Rune of Gromrel fits on a Thane pretty easy, gives him a 2+ armor save no matter what. So throwing that on him, you put him with some shield bearers if you don't go Oath Stone. So now he's got 6 wounds.
Yep.
You can easily give him the banner for the 5+ ward for your entire unit, and
So
now
good.
you're
Oh.
really cooking with a guy that's
Yeah.
very hard to kill, and he's gonna chop a couple wounds off here and there. Yeah, like the Thanes and the Kings are excellent little pieces to have available to you.
All right, flipping the page, Anvil of freaking Doom. Now, this comes into Adam's already banana sticker for being a full page, double page spread for this unit usually must be good by dint, must be proven bad. But Danny, take it away. Anvil of Doom. Is it the mainstay it always was before?
I think it's an interesting piece. I don't think it's necessarily a mainstay in every dwarf army. I think so. It's a war machine. It costs 235 points, and it can take 100 points of runes, so you can make it pretty defensive. But it already has toughness 7, 5 wounds, and a 5+ ward save, which is pretty durable. The disadvantage, of course, is that this thing is immobile, so you can't move it once you place it. But since it does have like a Forge Father, which I think is the name of the character on there, right? Yeah.
Yep.
He's like a super rune lord, so he becomes he's a level 3 wizard for the purposes of dispelling. So dwarves don't have access to a 24-inch dispel range outside of the Anvil of Doom.
Yes, and I'll foreshadowing a little bit because the next page is, of course, the Rune Lords. Rune Lord will come in at 120 with ticked up. Of course, it's going to have a lot of kit on it, but you pay 115 points to take a Rune Lord from that into the Anvil of Doom to get the equivalent caster in a unit rather than table. And it comes with a bunch of spicy stuff.
Right.
The 5 board save is really nice, like toughness 7, 5 wounds. I mean, we know toughness 6 is in the upper echelons of toughness in the game as it sits right now. Very few things can hit toughness 7, let alone toughness 8. But Peter, tell us about the runes. Are they still good? Are the things that, when you strike and the stuff happens, are they still, great abilities?
Yes, I think this is really what, other than being the only way to get a 24-inch dispel in your army, this is what really sells the Anvil of Doom if you're going to run it.
For sure.
You get access to 4 different runes. They're all power level 3 bound spells. The first one, the Rune of Oath and Steel, is a 24-inch range. It's got a casting value of 7 or 11, and it gives reroll armor saves to any unit. And if you roll an 11 plus, it gives them also +1 to their armor save. So on a 7+, you get reroll armor saves, which is awesome already. 11 plus +1. So your iron breakers are now a 2+ armor save. Your hammers and stuff are now at a 4 or a 3, depending on shields, etc. So just an amazing bound spell already. Rune of Hearth and Home is a self enchantment. All friendly dwarves within 21 inches gain immune to psychology, which is, it is what it is. It's great to have. Rune of Haste and Urgency is a 10+ conveyance spell with a range of 24. You can pick a unit and it can move a second time, just like the battle magic spell. And lastly, Rune of Wrath and Ruin is a magic missile, 27-inch range, which is great. On a 9+, 2d6 strength 4, AP 2 hits. So like all of these are excellent spells. I wouldn't... Hearth and Home is probably the only one that's kind of a given how the army is. But don't look a gift horse in the mouth. It's a free spell on this guy. Like they're excellent spells. The thing about the Anvil of Doom, I believe, is if you're running the Anvil of Doom, your whole strategy is built around the Anvil of Doom, right? So,
correct. You have to keep it safe. You have to protect it. You almost have to bring a couple of bunker or misdirecting units because you can't put it in a unit. So you have to actually put some protection in front of it because the last thing you want is it getting tied up in combat when it can't do any of its good pseudo spells. But I think it's a very interesting piece. And if you build around it, I think it can be very good.
I think there's some cute stuff you can do with it too by putting some weapon runes on it and just saying hey, come at me with my 5 attacks that now are whatever you want, AP 2, strength 6 or 7. You can really jazz this guy up so that if nobody actually wants to charge it.
Correct. And that's what I was going to say. The other side of the coin is, exactly. It's not like it used. So it used to be that I would just rush single saber tusks and nonsense into these things to keep them tied up, because they had like a 50-50 of killing smaller, chaffing units, 5 goblin wolf riders, stuff like that. That's not the case if you don't want it to be. You can just be like, lol, charge, I annihilate the unit. In fact, I kill the whole unit, hitting on 3s, winning on 3s, no save, see you later. They can be pretty unpalatable for a lot of reasons. But moving on to rune smiths, I think a very unfortunately necessary thing in the world where magic has become such a shutdown mechanic, more than a damage dealing, because I don't think there's not a huge amount of magic missiles that in general really lay waste to the good toughness, high armor save of dwarves. But just being shut down by illusion is the worst thing imaginable. So, Danny, how necessary are the rune smiths, and are they any good?
I think you probably want one, and I would say mostly you want them for like their ability to take what is essentially like an old school dispel scroll,
Correct.
which other characters can't do. The nice thing about them, I do actually really like Forge Fire.
Yes.
On them, I think it's a great rule. So what that does is when you have a Rune Lord character or Runesmith character, either a Rune Lord or a Runesmith, join a unit, the unit gets Armor Bane 2 and Flaming attacks, which is really nice. I think Flaming attacks are becoming more important. I think they will become more important in the future.
The troll hordes coming in the game. And there's a bunch of other. You are correct. There are a bunch of other armies that could be coming out with Ravening Hordes, arcane journals and such, where flaming can pop off.
Right. Yep. Totally. And like the other units do also just have like Armor Bane on their attacks. So like getting an extra 2 and having that stack like is super good. Like especially if you have Grommail weapons, and he still's got Grommail weapons and Grommail armor, which are both really nice. Those are reroll 1s to save and for his armor save, and then Grommail weapons is magic, and then AP 1, I think. Or are they not magic? They might not be magic. Anyway, really good rules, and they give you a bonus to dispel. So the Rune Lord lets you dispel like a level 2, and the Rune Smith lets you dispel like a level 1. All dwarves are MR1, so getting like, even though they're kind of lower level wizards, you still have a decent chance if they're in dispel range to like stop spells that are targeting your dwarves.
Yeah. Both and Rune Smiths are MR2, so they're going to buff whatever unit they're in. I really like them in like a unit of Quarrelers, so that the Quarrelers are now Armor Bane 4. You can take like a big squad of like 20 with an engineer nearby and a runesmith and just like mess up someone's day. If you still want to keep playing that gunline, and Rangers too. Exactly. Yeah,
totally agree. All right, moving on to Slayers of Legend. These are Demon Slayers and Dragon Slayers, 130, 170 points respectively. Weapon skill 7 and 6, both strength 4, both toughness 5, 3 and 2 wounds, initiative 5, initiative 4. Initiative 5 is quite a nice breakpoint. 4 and 3 attacks respectively, both leadership 10. Both come with Demon Slayer they both have the death blow, they both have Grommail weapons, both have hatred, orcs and goblins, as you will see as a theme. Immune to psych, killing blow, loner, magic res 2, and then resolute, slayer of dragons or demons, unbreakable, and vanguard. The Slayer of Demons special rule is when a character makes a to wound roll of a 4+, it's always successful, regardless of their target's toughness. In addition, each unsaved wound inflicted by a character against an enemy model with the Warp Spawn special rule, or whose type is Behemoth, you have a D3 damage. Whilst this character is rolling to wound for the Dragon Slayers, a 4+ is always blah, blah, blah. And the same thing, pretty much the same rule. Always wounds on a 4+.
Yeah. The difference being with the Slayer of Dragons that it only works on behemoths. It doesn't also get the warp spawn.
But the demons are just everywhere, guys. They're just dragging us down, and just like it was just being smothered. Yeah, that rule does not come up very often.
It's totally a playable army in Old World.
But Slayers. I mean, I know dwarf players froth their Slayers. They absolutely are ravenous for them. Are they any good?
I think the characters, particularly the Dragon Slayer, is fine. I'm not sold that the Demon Slayer is worth that many more points for what he does.
Me too. That's where I'm
not sold. But the Dragon Slayer, I can definitely see a use for if you have the points. For the same reason Danny mentioned, if you want to kind of go for this weird kind of skewy skirmishing hunter that just goes out and takes out enemy troops and is just a pain to move, then I think it has a space. It only has 2 wounds and no save, so it's not like he he's going to live for forever. But it's a cute little thing you might want to consider someday.
Cue Highlander theme song. But what I have a big problem with is the price comparison between a Dwarf Lord, a Thane, and a Demon Slayer and a Troll Slayer. So for 5 more points than a Dwarf freaking King, you get a Demon Slayer. For 5 more points, it should be 15 less than the King. Easily should be 15 less. And the Dragon Slayer the same, because you're paying more for a unit that can't join, doesn't buff, and literally can only do one thing, which is smash. And whilst I adore that smash is a good smash. It's just the price point is just unpalatable.
Yes.
All right, moving on a little bit. I'm really hoping the Arcane Journal changes my perspective on that. I mean, we could see stuff like Slayer skills come back or that kind of thing. So, I think there's a lot of hope there for.
I'm hoping for Slayer magic.
Oh,
Slayer Anvil. Yeah.
There's a take. Engineers, Peter, take it away.
Dwarf Engineers, 50 points. They give you Artillery Master. So unless it's engaged in combat, in your shooting phase, a friendly unit of Quarrelers, Thunderers, or any war machine within command range can reroll either hit rolls of natural 1 or reroll a single artillery die. They have the entrenchment special rule, which basically means as long as they're near a war machine, they can't be targeted. They give partial cover to those war machines. And then Stand Back Chief is the one. Yeah, Stand Back Chief, if they can't be targeted by spells or shooting if they're within 3 inches of another war machine. They've got a pretty respectable stat line, strength 4, tough 4, 2 attacks, leadership 9, ballistic skill 5. You can give them pistols if you like, or a great weapon. Really, you're taking a Dwarf Engineer for Artillery Master. Not much else, I don't think. But it's a really good rule, especially if you're really jazzed about gun lines to this day. I particularly like the reroll ones on Quarrelers and Thunderers more than the artillery die.
Sure.
But I mean, keeping your cannon from exploding is always going to be good. So,
agreed. So one of the rules that they used to have, right, was they used to give their ballistic skill to the artillery, right? Yeah, and I think that's the biggest miss here. Is the only thing that's missing. Their BS5 is essentially being used on, congrats, a brace of pistols. It doesn't really touch the sides. It's kind of a waste of a ballistic skill. And that's the thing that's really kind of, I think, holding these guys back. But because everything else about him is sick. Artillery Master's sick. The fact that they can't be targeted is sick. You can just have this guy just hanging out with a great weapon, just to be a little counter assault, go hold up another piece of chaff that we're going to go shut down your organ gun, whatever. 50 points is probably correct as well. I think 50 points is just fine. If you are playing a list that makes sense, take him. Danny, Dwarf Warriors.
So Dwarf Warriors, you're looking at this is one of their mainstay core units here. Typical dwarf stat line: movement 3, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, toughness 4, 1 wound, initiative 2. 1 attack, leadership 9. These guys run 8 points model and come stock standard with hand weapons and heavy armor. You can pay a point each for great weapons or shields. They have 5-point command options, and you can take 25 points of magic items on any of the veteran, so the champion character. And then 0 to 1 unit per 1,000 points can have drilled or veteran for 1 point, and take a magic banner of up to 50, or standard runes up to 50 points. And they have, other than this normal hatred orcs and goblins and magic resistance, resolute, they also have shield wall standard, and they're a close order unit. One thing to mention too that I've been thinking about: these guys are heavy infantry, so you only need 4 wide to make a rank. Yeah. So you can actually buy a fully ranked up unit for pretty inexpensive for Dwarf Warriors.
Yeah, 8 points per model is not breaking the bank at all. And of course, if you want to soak up some core, and if you just want a drilled unit that just sits on a flank and just moves a little bit faster than people think when they're playing against dwarves, this can be a not bad option. What do you think? Do you think it's shields or great weapons or both?
Oh, go ahead. What do you think, Pete?
I think shields.
Me too.
Yeah,
me too.
I feel like with dwarves, you run them as cheap as possible, but you want shields for shield wall. Take a unit of 12 or 16, do them rank them up 4 wide, 3 or 4 deep, and you're just okay, this unit's here to stick around for at least a turn.
Yeah.
So that my heavier hitters can hit you in a flank, or I can set something else up. So
yeah, Yeah, I agree. Longbeards will cost you 4 points more than a Dwarf Warrior, so 12 rather than 8. They come with one better Blister skill, being Blister skill 5, weapon skill 5 rather, and one better strength. But apart from that, they're pretty much exactly the same. Same initiative 2, same leadership 9. Starting stock with just like your baseline in leadership army-wide is 9 is pretty wild to me. I think that's absolutely ace. Of course, the same 1 point per model for great weapons or shields. The same 6 point unit upgrades. But, champion, standard bearer, musician. In addition to what Dwarf Warriors get, they also get Venerable and Veteran as standard, which considering you pay 1 point per model for Veteran on the Dwarf Warriors, you can almost see these as being only 3 points more than a Dwarf Warrior, because they come with a 1 point upgrade as stock. Hand weapon and heavy armor. And Venerable is, unless this unit is fleeing, friendly units within 6 can reroll fail panic tests. So you have a little pseudo BSB buff in there. I see these guys as not bad. I actually don't mind the Longbeards, especially if you're going to be taking a Lord of Rathane in there to give them all the hatred. But I think this is the great weapons over the shields for my take.
Yeah, strength 6 is a really good breakpoint. Weapon skill 5 is awesome on these guys. That also something we didn't mention, we went over because we kind of just briefed army composition. Longbeards are a core choice if you take a king, and you're almost always going to take a king.
Correct.
So, like, if you are looking to fill core and not just go heavy into rangers or warriors, Longbeards are like a legit choice, in my opinion.
Agreed.
I think they're a little bit sadder than they used to be in previous editions. You still buy Longbeards in old 8th edition Warhammer Fantasy Battle, but this is like a very respectable stat line.
Very respectable.
They're basically like really slow Chaos Warriors.
I like them with shields too, honestly, because like they are AP1 on their close combat attacks. They do have Grommet weapons over the warriors as well.
Oh, that is a good point. And of course, 1 point per model for drilled, which you'll see is a thing. Drilled on these guys is nice. I like the same 16 dwarf units. I might even consider taking 2. One with a BSB, one with a king. And that's if you weren't going hammers, of course, or if you want to just have the flexibility in your list choice. But for soaking up core points, I think Longbeard is fantastic. Danny, Crawlers and Thunderers.
So these guys have a same dwarf stat line, except they are not weapon skill 4. They are weapon skill 3, which is kind of a change for this edition. Otherwise, Quarrelers are 9, Thunderers are 10. They come with heavy armor and their respective shooting weapons, so crossbows and handguns. You can buy them options because you can just take great weapons or shields. They can have great weapons for 2 points a model, and shields are 1. They have 5-point command group options. Champions of their unit have +1 ballistic skill instead of attack and can take a pistol or brace of pistols if they replace their weapon. Otherwise, they get the special rule Dwarf Crafted. I think that's ignore or stand and shoot, right?
Dwarf Crafted?
Yeah. It's ignore the -1 for stand and shoot.
Yes, yeah.
So really nice for that. But yeah, I think that they're they're an okay way to spend some core points. I probably like Quarrelers better than Thunderers myself because I like the extra range because I'm already slow.
Yeah.
And like Pete mentioned, the Runesmith in there is cool for Armorbane 4.
Yes,
on them.
Like if you're going gunline dwarves, if that's your jam, like a unit of say 15 or 20 Quarrelers with great weapons and crossbow and with a Runesmith and an engineer. It's one of the few like dedicated range units that's gonna do a lot of work because you're gonna be rerolling your ones to hit. You're gonna be slamming down these like Armorbane 4, Strength 4, 30-inch range shots. Yep. And they're not a joke in combat either, right? You're gonna have Strength 5 attacks, whatever survives their initial onslaught. It's not a bad choice by any means.
You're still toughness 4, 5 up armor too.
Correct.
Exactly.
Correct.
Yep.
I mean, I think Quarrelers exist in a very unique place in the metagame of the old world. There are so few units in the game that are a shooting and combat threat both. Usually you only get one or the other, and usually they're mediocre, possibly at both. Skeleton Archers come to mind. They will do nothing if you tap them in combat. Quarrelers cannot be tapped in combat. You will annihilate small chaff without like breaking a sweat. Yeah. So I really rate Quarrelers. I think Quarrelers are one of the best units.
They're definitely a line hammer unit too, right? You just run them super wide, and if you have a hill in your deployment zone, you laughing. Anyway.
Well, and so this is the way that I'm seeing dwarfs operate at the moment as well. Because if you just have static, very slow blocks of infantry, you need to make them as holistic as possible. If I'm just going to have a bunch of dwarf lads, I want them to do and exist in as many spheres of the game as possible. And I think Quarrelers, and now our next slot is Rangers, exist in that sphere. The Rangers will run you 11 points, which is 2 points per model more than their compatriots in the Quarrelers. You do get +1 weapon skill and +1 bliss skill. So weapon skill, bliss skill 4, which is nice. Strength 3, toughness 4, same 1 wound, initiative 2, 1 attacks, leadership 9. They can take great weapons and shields also. They are open order, I believe. They're dwarf crafted, hatred, of course, magic res. Move through cover, open order, resolute, scout, skirmishes. A great swathe of special rules there. I really am a big fan.
For 2 points.
You get a lot.
You get so much bang for your buck.
Just +1 weapon skill and +1 ballistic skill for 2 points is absolutely crazy.
Wild. So nuts. Let alone the move through cover and and all the scouts and skirmishes. Yeah, for 2 points more. Absolutely amazing. Great weapons and shields are both options. Throwing axes and crossbows with throwing axes. I'm not sure if you would ever do that, but you're saying 6 point unit upgrades for your command, and the Deadeye can take pistols and abrasive, which I'm not sure you'd ever do that. Because I think the crossbow is the buy-in because you love that freaking range. How all in do you go with these guys is the question, because I see this as one of the other better units in this book.
Really, the important thing about Rangers is that they also 0 to 1 unit in your army can be a core choice with 0 restriction. Yeah. So you should almost always take Rangers because they're so good for their points. At least 1 unit. I feel like it's just a really good way to fill up your core. I don't see a reason why you wouldn't take a unit of Rangers in core unless you had like some kind of really important theme to your list and you just didn't need to fill up your core choices with other stuff because you've taken 2 units of Longbeards or something like that, and that's kind of the core of your army.
Totally agree.
Also, like we they just fit every play style that you're going to want for dwarves. Scouts, like you don't have to use scout to deploy 9 inches from your opponent's deployment zone, right? Like you can be crazy and just deploy them 3 inches in front of yours. So that you're protecting your your war machines or your anvil. Rangers are the thing everybody talks about when they talk about what's the scariest thing I can line hammer. Because there is no max size. They are a core choice. You can take 30 of them and you basically have your 500 points of core and you just line them up in a row in front of your army and say, come get some.
Give them great weapons.
Give them great weapons. I will promise you, though, please don't do it as skirmishers if you're going to use that strategy, because skirmishers block each other, and you're going to get an opponent that's going to be like, okay, well, if you're playing that way, then we're measuring each one of those guys to make sure that they're not being impacted by cover, right?
F around and find out is the line that comes to mind.
Yeah. Also, there's a lot of negatives we've talked about in the past about doing something crazy like that, but it exists. I do like a decent sized unit of Rangers, though. They fill up so much of your core, and they're just such a good unit. So.
I agree. They might be the best unit in the book. They might be.
Yeah,
very probably
right there.
everything I said about Quarrelers about being a holistic unit, Rangers are +1 to all those arguments.
Yeah, they're Quarrelers +1, dude.
+1. That's it.
Move through cover is also so underestimated because
agreed. Yeah.
Pillar of Fire is like Dwarves' nightmare because it doesn't target them, so it gets around magic resist, and it's also difficult terrain. So Dwarves are moving like 2 inches through it, and they often can't actually get through the template. So having the ability to actually move through shit like that is very important.
All right, Hammerers, Danny.
So Hammerers are expensive. These are some of your more elite infantry. They come in units of 5+. They're weapon skill 5, strength 4. They also get a bump to initiative 3 over other dwarves, and they cost a hefty 16 points a model. They do come standard with great hammers and heavy armor. You can buy them shields for a point. Their command options are all 7 points a model, and they any unit can buy drilled and or veteran for 1 point a model, and they can have 75 points of mana runes. The champion can have 25 points for different runes and other things. They have some good special rules. They have the standard close order, Gromma weapons, hatred orcs and goblins, magic resistance, resolute. They also have the Royal Guard, shield wall, stoic defenders, and they're stubborn. So Royal Guard means if you can only include 1 unit of hammers in your army for every king or thane. Any unit of hammers joined by a king or thane, any model can issue or accept challenges in the same manner as a character. If that character leaves the unit, they lose the ability. And then they have stoic defenders, which is during a turn in which it was charged by an enemy's a model in this with a special rule gains a +1 modifier to its initiative and attacks characteristics.
Terrifying.
Finally, the great hammers that they have are a special weapon. So they're strength +2, AP -2 with armor bane 2, magic attacks, and requires 2 hands. So it's a great weapon that doesn't strike last. So these guys become initiative 4 when you charge them, and 2 attacks each, which is very hitty.
And when you consider the FAQ on lances and fall back in good order, where when you fall back in good order and the opponent comes at you, it counts as a charge. And these guys are stubborn. Like, there are going to be a lot of times where even though you're pretty sure you're actually going to give ground, you're going to want to actually use that once per game stubborn to be like, nope, I actually want to fall back because I want to have another turn of 2 attacks into you.
Correct.
And then you can use your free reform or drilled to go wider if you need to, if you've lost some guys. And just like, it's a terrifying unit to have to deal with for a lot of enemy units in the game, particularly if your opponent is running great weapons because they're going to strike at the same time as them.
Yep.
I really like, they're expensive. Don't get me wrong, but I do like hammers a lot for a lot of reasons.
I like them a lot also. I think drilled is just taking drilled because you cannot put this many points into this unit and then have it out of the game. You need the option to march in column, make them a problem for your opponent. Because if I say unit of hammerers, I'm like, I'm going to just go everywhere else. Just F that unit. I'm not fighting it unless I absolutely freaking have to. So you want to take drilled and make your opponent have to contend with them. I think it's just absolutely necessary. As for going in and investing, on the champion, and this is a great place for the banners. There's a lot of great banners that make sense on this unit. And I think this unit is a house. Whether it's worth it or not is, I think, very meta dependent. But yeah, because you can just play like you did usually back in the old day, where here's my army of chaff and war machines, and then 1,200 points in a hammer unit with characters and thanes and all this stuff. You can still definitely do that, but you run into the problem of my opponent rolled well on illusion, and I put 1,200 points in a unit that can't do anything all game. But I still think they're amazing. I still think they're a phenomenal data sheet.
And I mean, just you can pay 25 points and give their champion a 2+ ward save once per game.
Yeah, correct.
Because stuff like that's really good too, right? So
really
that's
good.
Cool.
Just blank a dragon, feels really good. Iron Breakers are up next, 1 point less per model than our Hammerer compatriots. 15 points, that is. Same with the same weapon skill 5, strength and toughness 4, initiative 2, attacks 1, blah, 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 blah. Full plate and shields, kicking around at a beautiful 3+ stock standard. And of course, we will see, Iron Breakers are the anvil, hammerers are the hammer, so to speak. Of course, there's a 7-point unit upgrades here for your command. You can take pistols on or a Drakefire gun on the champ. I'm not sure you'd bother. Cinderblast bombs as well. Same upgrades of drilled and 50-point magic standard. They come with special rules of closed order, Gromma weapons and armor. The hatred, the magic res 1, regimental unit, resolute, runes of protection, shield wall, and stubborn. Runes of protection is a 6-up ward save against any wounds that were suffered at the non-magical enemy attack. And I'm not going to bother reading out the Drakefire pistols and guns because we're going to do it when we get to the Iron Drakes. Gents, what do we make of the Iron Breakers?
They're my favorite unit in the book.
They're very good.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Ooh, go on.
Okay, so a couple of things here. They exemplify all of the great dwarven qualities of being as difficult to kill as like a ball bearing, and so like they just kind of are. If they march into your face, like you're going to have a tough time removing the models. They're very tough. They also have regimental unit, and Iron Drakes are a detachment, and they're a great shooting unit, great flanking unit. Like They have amazing rules. So it just kind of makes sense to build kind of like an anvil of those, but it's going to be a lot of your army if you do that.
Mm-hmm.
How deep into the mines do you go? Oh, so proud of that. With the Ironbreakers, Peter, is this the all-in unit over the Hammerers?
I mean, I like both a lot. In fiddling with lists, trying to make a dwarf list that I would like to play because they aren't a playstyle that I generally enjoy. I had a unit of both. I had like 2 squads of 12 to 14 or 12 to 16. So like one, say just for evensies, 14-man Ironbreaker and a 14-man Hammerer unit with a decked out Thane and a decked out King. Like the King can go in the Hammerers, the Thane goes in the Ironbreakers, and they're kind of like side-by-side units that rock up and rock your world.
Yeah.
But like Danny said, if you want to go deeper and grab those Iron Drakes as detachments, like that is definitely a solid plan. Another thing here that I kind of like is the option to take Cinder Blast Bombs on your champion.
Yeah, that's cool.
It's an expensive thing at 15 points, but it's got quick shot, so you're going to be hitting on 4s. And it's if you hit on that Overwatch or stand and shoot, I should say, which is basically the main reason why you want to take this. Your opponent takes D6 +1 strength 5 hits, AP 1.
Yeah.
Like that's no joke for 15 points to just slam a guy with an unexpected 3 or 4 wounds. So I kind of like that as like a sneaky play as well. So. I
like it as the combat res brick. I like it a lot. Like doing a couple of wounds on the way in can really mean a lot. I think this is a good place to stick that Oath Thane or King on the Oath Stone where you just like, you can't kill me. And I've got, I'm only 5 wide. I'm only 4 wide because I'm heavy infantry. And, maybe I'm a 16, so I get the full rank bonuses plus War Banner maybe. And just like, you come in and you get 1 for charging, and that's all you get, sir. Be prepared to be broken. I won't run you down, but you ain't winning. All right, on to the Iron Drakes. 15 points per model as well as the Iron Breakers. They come stock standard as heavy infantry, of course, again, with the Drake guns and full plate. I'll quickly tell you about the Drake guns now because it really brings the context to this unit. 18-inch range, strength 5, AP 1. Armor Bane 2, very nice. Dwarf crafted, flaming attacks, and quick shot. So they get a good subset of special abilities there. The actual rules for the Iron Drakes are Closed Order, Detachment, Gromrel Armor, the Hatred, the Magic Res, Resolute, Runes of Warding, and Stubborn. So the same 5-up. So no, it's a 5-up, not a 6-up ward save, but only by flaming attacks rather than the 6-up that the Iron Breakers get against non-magical. I think this is a house. I think I like this unit a lot. I think Iron Drakes are most of what I want for both the chaff clearing and the softening of things. And the Cinder Blast Bombs here, again, find a great home. And, of course, you have where's the big gun?
The Troll Hammer Torpedo, Adam. You have to talk about that.
The baby cannon. They're essentially a baby cannon. Range 24, strength 8, which is the best strength you could have apart from, 10. AP 3, just AP 3, bang. Flaming attacks, multiple wounds, D3. This thing is sick, especially when you have it on the champ, which is Bliss's skill 5.
Yeah, dude.
It's a good 15-point investment, man. The fact that it's not like ponderous or move or fire is awesome too.
The lad is literally carrying a cannon, and he's like, "I'm not even close. I'm not even slow to fire, babes. Like, I got this."
And these guys have full plate. Like a 4+ armor save on a ranged unit is great. Like you're paying a premium, but it's worth it. Yeah.
I mean, they're 4
awesome.
points more than a ranger and 6 points more than a quarreler, but they are a step up in damage output. They are a step up in durability. They step up in everything, to be honest. Do they have? Don't have Gromrel weapons.
Oh, they have Gromrel armor though, so they're
it's fine. It's fine. Yeah, I like Iron Drakes. I especially like Iron Drakes, as Danny pointed out. When you take a unit of Iron Breakers and you get the detachment ones, it just sweetens the deal.
Oh. Yeah, go ahead, charge the Iron Breakers. It'll be even better for me. The combat res
exactly
is
right.
Nuts.
Exactly right. The combat res is going to be off the freaking charts. Peter, mine is up next, which is one of my favorite units.
Oh, they're so cool.
I think
necessary unit.
Super awesomely cool. Not sure if they're worth it on the table, but I've never fielded them on the table. But miners, standard dwarf build, movement 3, weapon skill 4, ballistic skill 3, strength 3, tough 4. They're basically a dwarf warrior for 12 points, but they come stocked with great weapons. They cannot take shields. In addition, you can pay 2 points for blasting charges, which are quick shot, 6-inch range, strength 3, AP 1, armor bane 1, shooting weapon. They get 6 points for their upgrades. You want a prospector if you're taking these guys. At the very least, they're unit champion, because the prospector for 20 points can take a steam drill.
Steam drill
Is strength +3, AP 3, furious charge, strike last.
So cool.
So he becomes this like strength 6, 3 attack monster. More importantly, though, it lets you re-roll, if you have a steam drill, it lets you re-roll your ambush roll every turn, because you're basically in like a tiny little rocket ship underground, and you burrow up, and then when you get up there, the champion picks it up and starts beating people over the head with it. That's how I imagine it anyway.
That's funny, because I imagine it. You know those hand-cranked egg beaters?
Oh, yeah? I mean, maybe that is what it is.
I imagine it much the same as that. And you just got this screaming bearded lunatic with a candle on his head, just running at you with a hand-cracked egg beater. And you're like, oh my God, it's AP3.
So 1 unit of miners per 1,000 points can change close order for open order. You can pay 1 point per model for the veteran rule, and you can take a 25-point standard. Their ambushers, as kind of previously mentioned, they've got resolute. They have the vanguard rule, which with that 3 inches is it exists, I guess. Magic resist 1 and hatred of the orcs and goblins. This is a unit I want to love, because it's ambushers with an ability to manipulate the ambush roll. And that's something that's incredible. However, a 3-inch move means it's very hard to catch stuff. So you pop up where you're going to be a big scary guy, and most of the time your opponent's just going to be like, okay, I shift over 4 inches, and now you've accomplished nothing. Let's move on with our day, right?
So the reason I want miners to be amazing is because I want us to diversify the mission pack. I want us to,
I agree. Yep.
If we do start rewarding people for positional play rather than just killing each other, miners become amazing, and they become a tool that dwarfs really don't have in any other facet of their army.
Yeah.
Miners would also be infinitely better if war machines were better.
Correct.
Right. Exactly right.
Yeah. Danny, regular ass slayers. And I say ass because their asses are out.
Okay. So slayers have the normal troll slayers are 12 points a model and have the standard dwarven stat line, except they are leadership 10. You can take giant slayers. In fact, you can take any number of giant slayers for +7 points a model. And those are champion effective models, but we'll get to that in a moment. They are weapon skill 5, strength 4, initiative 3 with 2 attacks. So they have very good stat line. You can buy additional hand weapons or great weapons for any model in the unit for 1 and 2 points respectively. And you can also take banner standards and musicians and standard runes up to 50 points. They have the death blow motley crew rules, so you can swap around their equipment however you want. They're open order as well, and they have Slayer and Unbreakable. Slayer is whenever you make its wound roll, you always wound on a 4+, regardless of the target's toughness. And the Giant Slayers additionally have the rule Fight Me, which is they can issue and accept challenges in the same manner as a character.
Yep.
Love it. I have fundamental issues with Slayers. In the fact that I think they're overcosted. So, I am playing your stock standard bits of everything, a little bit of shooting, a little bit of combat, a little bit of magic army. Let's say Empire, whatever. And you have an army that is super unpalatable for me to put light arms fire into. And then you have Slayers in your army, and you're like, oh my God, you mean every other thing I can shoot in the army is wounding badly already and going into minimum of 4+ save. And then you have Slayers, and you're just like, well, I can just shoot those guys as much as I want. They're going to hate it. This is why this is what bothers me about them. They should be cheaper. They should be cheaper. I'm not sure how many giant slayers that you want. I feel like you want more than one. Like if you're taking like 12 of these guys, I want like at least 2 giant slayers in there. Just so I have the option to, like, if I hit a dragon, just be like 2 turns of blank to position around and possibly do some stuff. But 19 points for that dragon slayer feels rough. Giant slayer.
Yeah. In my head right now, if I ran these guys, I would run 5 of them, all of them as giant slayers, and that would be it.
Yep, that might be the go.
And I would just be like, this is my way of stopping, probably not because they're moving 3, stopping a thing for the game, basically, would be the only. And that's me. But what are you saying there, Danny?
Well, okay. So they're Motley Crew, right? And you can have as many giant slayers as you want and as many troll slayers with different weapons as you want as well. Right? So you can swap. So you can actually have 4 different kinds of models in the unit.
Correct.
Like you can have giant slayers with either weapon and then troll slayers with either weapon. So I think you can really distribute the casualties in a way that's like meaningful. You can really tie up units in a weird way. But yeah, I agree with Pete. Like you want enough giant slayers to fill your front rank, I think, for sure.
But it's like 100 points. It's 5 giant slayers is 95 points. It's a lot.
Yeah, I agree.
It's overpointed. Adam, I
wildly
agree with you. Like,
wildly overpointed.
But like, this is where I would run them, and that's me. And like, there might be a different way, but like a 5-man, make them a flat 100 points by giving them additional hand weapons, just in case they tag something else by accident, and just kind of hide them in the back behind some other unit, and then when your opponent's big Gribbly comes to play, and they hit your iron breakers or your hammers and they start doing real damage to them, then, you get the slayers to flank charge and you say, okay, for the rest of the game, these guys are your friends. At least until you choose to reform after I do my unbreakable break and you go somewhere else. But you're only going to kill like 1 guy at a time. So
correct. Yeah. The other thing that bothers me about them is they don't have Grommer weapons. I really, really wish that they did. The fact that these guys go in with additional hand weapons and no AP, I think it's trash. I think it's trash. They should. You're saying that they're out for their last foray. They expect to freaking die, and they left their best weapons at home. Like they're like, no, honey, you hold on to the good axe today. I'm not coming back from this trip. Really silly. They should totally have it.
Just wait till they have Slayer magic, then you'll be like, man, I'm so glad they don't have Grommer weapons.
Well, I hope that's the case. I do hope that the Slayers. Nothing more fun than playing into a Slayer player. They are like, everyone like enjoys playing against orcs and goblins when they don't bring infinite fanatics. But the people who play orcs and goblins are generally a good freaking time. Those are the Slayer players of the dwarfs.
Yeah.
They are the lunatics. They are usually like absolutely half pissed by the time round 1 starts, and they're there for a good time, not a long time. Anyway, the next 2 are very interesting data sheets. Gyrocopters were one of the ones that pre-dropping of the game was foreshadowed as being a hellacious problem for the game because there was no cap on how many you could take. And, we envisioned and like had night terrors about infinite, 12 gyrocopter single gyrocopter lists just being infuriating. That hasn't seemed to eventuate, which we're happy to say. We had a bit of doomsaying, naysaying that didn't come to pass. But where are they at right now? Because I see them as ubiquitous. You must have gyrocopters in your list. How many is the right number? And are they any good? Who wants to take it away?
I think you always take 2 at least. Like 2 units of 1.
Yeah.
I think at like a bare minimum, that's what you should be taking in every dwarf list.
They come in at 60 points, weapon skill 4, bliss skill 3, strength 4, toughness 5 with 3 wounds, initial 2 attacks to who cares. Steam gun, armored fuselage counts as full plate. So you're tough, 60 points, toughness 5 with a 4-up built in, which is very nice. Mm-hmm. They can take their 2 guns. They have dive bomb, fire, and flee, which is stupendous. Fly 9, the same hatred. Impact hit D3, which is just going to be strength 4. Skirmishes, Swift Stride, and Vanguard. They have such a good conglomeration of special rules. Peter, tell us about dive bomb and the guns, and then Danny, tell us what you do with these guys.
Sure. So dive bomb is a once per game, a unit with a special rule may perform a dive bomb attack. You pick a single enemy unit that you've moved over, during the remaining move subways, and that unit suffers D6 strength 3 hits at an AP of 1 for each model, for each gyrocopter that flew over it that turn. However, if you roll a 1 for the amount of hits, you actually hurt yourself. You take a wound. You have the option of taking a steam gun, which is a strength 3 AP 1 breath weapon, a brimstone gun for, I believe it's 5 points, for which is 18 inches, strength 5 AP 2 D3 plus 1 shots, flaming and quick shot and dwarf crafted. And then, or you could take a clatter gun, which is 24 inches, strength 4 AP 1, armor bane 1, dwarf crafted, move and shoot, multiple shots D6, and quick shot.
Which is the pick there, Danny? And when you say you have to take two, you're pretty much ubiquitously take 2. What are you doing with them?
For me, I'm probably going to pay the points for the brimstone gun, but not the clatter gun.
I agree.
Because I value the extra strength at AP. Although move and shoot is a really good rule for these guys, and D6 shots is a lot of shots. So I'm very tempted by the clatter gun. The steam gun is also fine. Like if you don't want to pay the points, that's cool. They're still good.
Yeah,
the steam gun's just fine.
Yeah. So I love both. Like, and I think that if no matter which item you take, it's the right answer for you, and it's probably correct. I personally love the clatter gun because there's this option against some players, especially if you go deeper than two gyrocopters. If you take like a unit, like a unit of 3, let's say, where your opponent goes for, you vanguard up your 9 inches, you then march 18. And because you have move and shoot, you can still do all the beautiful things you love to do. So you've moved 27 inches. You're shooting 3d6, strength 4, AP 1, armor bane 1 shots at ballistic skill 3. But because of move and shoot and quick shot, you're basically suffering no penalties to do it. And you're also getting to dive bomb something potentially. There's a lot of play potential to really disrupt your opponent and then be behind their line, which I really enjoy. Brimstone gun is great for, like Danny said, like if you just want reliable, I'm going to kill a couple things as I fly around, and that's where you go. So.
Yeah, totally agree. I can see all the arguments. I'm calling it wild. I want 2 singles and 1 3. And that might be the way I go. The singles, of course, are the chaffing, harassing, and the 1 3 can actually do damage. It actually does damage. And then on the charge, like if it's not a dangerous unit, 3d3 impact hits and then 6 attacks just at weapon skill 4 is not nothing. It's like legitimately not nothing. You can break small units and really clean up flanks really well with that unit. I'm not sure you'd go more than 3. I think 3 at 210 is what you're paying when you add the clatter gun. That's about as expensive as I'd want them to go. Stepping up to 4 at 280 is just too much, I think. But the fact that they're palatable at all as a multiple unit squad when we were just naysaying so hard at the start of the edition about the singles, I think is really exciting. Gyro bombers are the step up from there, and for 35 more points, a lot. You have the same weapon skill, bliss skill, same strength, same toughness, 1 more wound, the same initiative, same attack, same leadership. This really annoys me that they're 35 more points and they are kind of worse. They have bombing run, closed order, fly 8 rather than fly 9. The same hatred, impact hits D3 plus 1, and swift stride, of course. They come with the same, steam gun, arm and fuselage, so the 4+ armor save. Their bombing run reads as thus. This model may perform bombing run attack against a single enemy unit that is engaged in combat, that is not engaged in combat, rather. To do this, the model must move by flying over the unit it wishes to attack, and then you roll a D6. So it's very, who knows what happens. On a 1, you lose a single wound. On a 2, it's a dud, and the enemy loses a single wound. Direct hit is a 3 to 4. Cluster of bombs lands directly on the target. Place the large blast, so it's directly at the center of the unit. Once placed, the template scatters D6, and if you're under it, you suffer a strength 4 hit with AP 1. And then 5 to 6 is you place 2 3-inch blast templates, so that they're all holes over the unit. Once placed, each template scatters D6, and then you suffer the same strength 4 hit. So I do not like the gyro bomber.
I did when you didn't have to be unit strength 5 for close order.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. So that was why was that the make or break for you?
So like you could have a bunch of these little jerks charge somebody and do impact hits, like especially like a light infantry unit or something like that to chase it away if you didn't want to, like if you just wanted to break it and get away from your lines, or like okay, how about this? Like these guys would be really annoying into something like Wild Riders.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
That's true. mind you, like a single gyrocopter is pretty much just as threatening as to that unit as gyro bomber.
For sure. It's just you get to stack close order with those. And so like giving that extra, like those extra combat resolution points is just going to make sure that you break the enemy, especially if you can just like kill like the guys that are in base to base with you with your impact hits.
I see that. Yeah, I can see that.
Gyro bombers would be better if people ran more blocks, but people aren't running a lot of blocks right now.
True.
And the table is not very friendly to it anyway, because the stuff that people are generally running in blocks is like super elite, so they're not going to take a lot of damage from it anyway.
Well, straight up, like
that's my noise.
Yeah, straight up for 35 more points, the bombing run is not 35 points better than the dive bomb. It's not, and then you get one more impact hit. That's pretty much what you're paying for. Plus, and one more wound for 35 points.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it sucks. It sucks that they're more than 50% more expensive than a gyro bomber, and they're maybe 10% better.
And you lose 360 line of sight for shooting and combat, right?
Yep, correct.
And I mean, they're slower.
Yep.
They're worse in like almost every way, and the benefits that you get for that are like negligible. I actually think dive bomb is better than bombing run, just as a rule in general.
Well, considering what Peter said, in that the efficacy of templates is down because people aren't running enough bricks, D6 is better a lot of the time.
Oh, almost always.
If a gyro bomber was a skirmisher and not a monstrous creature, at least you could feel free to bombing run every turn. And maybe it's a little bit better. But because it's a monstrous creature with close order and not skirmish, it can't just 360 dive bomb every turn, right? There's going to be a lot of situations where it just can't. But yeah, so it's not good. Don't take it, guys. If you're taking this, I'm sorry. Like, I love you anyway.
I love you too. All right, next
I hope we
page.
beat round 5 of a tournament. That's all I'm saying. Anyway,
next 2 pages are our last 2 pages of the unit entries, which has taken a freaking hour of the show because we are going a bit deeper than we usually would. But these are your 5 war machines, and we can pretty much do them in one fell swoop. We did pretty much. We were very high on the bolt throwers at the start of the edition, thinking that things like the grudge throwers and the cannons were going down in potential. With just the changes to what their targets usually were, and the fact that like a bolt thrower is like half the points of its, or less than half the points of its compatriots. But Falcon, give us your TLDR on the war machines.
Bolt throwers are okay. The fact that if you go with an engineer build, sure. The thing about them is they do have a rune that lets them ignore armor saves. So if you do roll that 50-50 shot of getting a hit, then you're going to probably do two wounds to something. But I'm not sure it's necessary. Bolt throwers are meh. They're okay.
Yeah, bolt throwers are meh. Danny, which of these do you like the mostest?
I've always been a fan of the grudge thrower just because it's versatile.
Yeah.
I also like that the dwarf war machines as a whole are toughness 7 as opposed to toughness 6 of most war machines. So
the same thing.
Yeah,
so good.
The grudge thrower, the cannon, and the organ gun all are toughness 7, which is nice. But yeah, I just like its versatility.
I actually am becoming more and more of the fan of the single organ gun as well. Mostly because I think it feels a very necessary slot of the chaff clearing option. And for that, it's no longer, no war machine is what it was, where it will take and look at your opponent's best unit and take half of it off, like it could have done in the past. Like I've lost so many iron guts to freaking organ guns and hellblasters, but they're not that anymore. But what they are is something that will scoop, the little 5-man chaff units that will stop your hammerers making it into the game. So I think they fulfill a pretty necessary slot. Whether or not you go for the engineer or not is entirely personal preference and whatnot. But if I was taking one, I would consider. Like I think in my mind, cannons are semi-necessary as a softener. But I don't know if it's a single or if it's a double or if it's none. I'm not willing to go out on a limb and say which is the right number.
My personal preference is 2. because of redundancy, and if I'm ever running like a monster that's only got 4 or 5 wounds, I'm super scared of cannons, and when I don't care.
Yeah, the Chimera comes to mind as a unit that is pretty good in the game at the moment, that the cannon just mulligans, just bang, see you later. Double cannon, off the table, never to be seen again. So I don't mind them for that. I think 1 or 2. 100 points is a bit steep, to be honest. It does annoy me a little bit, especially when you can take 100 points of runes and you may slap one on there. It can blow out a little bit, especially if you're taking 2 of those, a grudge thrower and an organ gun or bow throwers. You can all of a sudden have 500 points of, in this matchup, does nothing, which can be a horrible place to be. But yeah, I like an auger gun. I think 1 or 2 cannons is fine, and 1 grudge thrower is probably where I'd be sitting for the backfield. But like I said, like 55 points, you can take almost 2 bow throwers for the price of a single cannon, especially if you stack a rune on the cannon, and that could be just be better in some matchups as well. All right, that is all of the unit entries, and we're going to crack on to the runic items. And this is actually going to be the second last section because they don't have a spell tree, of course, because they're dwarfs, and they don't have the runic items covers every magic thing that they do. Is there anything to unpack about how these are placed on units and how they're placed on weapons before we jump straight into the analysis?
Sure. So there's runic rules, and these have existed in previous editions. I'll just go over them real quick. There's 5 rules to putting runes on an item. There's a rule of 3, so no item can have more than 3 runes on it, so stop doing that. There's the rule of form, which is rule number 2. No item can have a rune not intended for that item, so don't put a weapon rune on a piece of armor, you jerk. Rule of pride, no 2 runic items in your army can be identical. So this means like if you have a preferred setup where you're like, man, I love to have a great weapon with, I don't know, like the 3 runes of fury. You can't have that same thing on another guy. You could choose to put a great weapon with 3 runes of fury on one guy and then a great weapon with 2 runes of fury on another. That's not the same thing. There's the rule of jealousy. If you have a master rune, you can only put it on one thing in your army. No item can have more than 1 master rune, which is unfair. And then the rule of duplication, only runes marked with an asterisk can be duplicated on the same item, combining together and increasing their effect. So they're like the common rune situation, I guess would be the best way to put it.
Yeah.
And then some runes are single use, just like single use magic items. They can only be used once per game.
Easy done. All right, jumping into the weapon runes. Master Rune of Smiting, 75 points. Expecting big things. A rune prescribed with the Master Rune of Smiting gains multiple wounds, D6. Sexy.
Yeah, this is just a threat. Like this is when you put this on somebody, like you are threatening them. They can call the police on you. Danny's a lawyer. He knows.
Yeah, for sure. It's actually it's assault. Yeah.
Yeah, it is assault. Taking this rune is a assault. We're telling you now in 26 states.
Straight up. The it's strength 7 on the great weapons on the kings, yeah?
Yeah.
Strength 7 AP.
Or no, I think it's
D6.
6, but
it's
regardless.
6.
Yeah.
Yeah, sorry. But there's other ways to get it up to 7.
Yeah.
Strength 7 AP 2 armor bane D6 damage. Freaking terrifying. Holy crap. You can just make a dude that is like, I cannot fight. I cannot fight you with my army. So, but moving on, we're going to go with the rhythm of Adam, Danny, Peter. Let's do it.
Okay, so we got the Master Rune of Scaff Blackhammer at 65 points. When making a 2-wound roll with this weapon, you always wound on a 2+, regardless of the target's toughness.
So you just take this on the hand weapon, right? Because you're like, who gives a crap about strength?
Well,
find your AP elsewhere.
AP, I guess, maybe, but yeah, I agree.
Yeah, hilarious. 65 points is a little steep for that one, but it is still, 2+ to wound is.
So let's see. So I buy the Executioner's Axe often. And maybe I shouldn't, but like for Dark Elves, that always wins on a 2+, and it's AP -3 for 70 points.
Fair. Well, you made this one look bad.
Yeah. That's a good idea.
Well done, Danny. Well done. Peter, take it away.
The Master Rune of Alaric the Mad. Alaric the Mad forged the famous rune fangs for the Elector Counts of the Empire before meeting an unknown fate. Alaric the Mad is badass. He did so many cool things.
Yeah.
He killed like a whole bunch of Skaven when he was like 3 million years old. He made the Nemesis crown, which is like one of the most evil things that ever happened in the Warhammer Fantasy Battle. A lot of good lore about him, and it's a pretty cool rune. So if you take this 45-point Master Rune, your opponent can take no armor saves against wounds caused by that weapon. They can still take ward and regeneration saves, but that's not bad. You can throw this on like just a regular hand weapon and make your opponent say, "Ooh, I don't want to be near you." Please don't.
I'm not a fan. Yeah. This is the Warriors of Chaos can opener. I like it.
Oh yeah.
All right. Master Rune of Dragon Slaying, 15 points. We're making a wound roll against an enemy unit whose troop type is Behemoth, with a weapon described with Master Rune of Slaying. A roll of 2+ is always successful, regardless of the target's toughness. So the second version of the same thing. And when you just put that on a great weapon, this one beats out the other one, hands down. As in the of Scaff Blackhammer, the Master Rune there. Because when you are strength 6, you do not need a real wound on 2+ against anything that isn't a Behemoth. So save yourself a 20 point, the 30 points. 30 points. Just take this one instead.
Yep.
Do it.
Danny,
so we got Master Rune of Flight. This turns your hand weapon into a boomerang.
Mm-hmm.
Once per turn during the shooting phase, a hand weapon inscribed with the Master Rune of Flight can be thrown with the following profile, which may be modified with additional runes. It's 12-inch range, strength user, no AP, magic attacks, move and shoot, and quick shot.
Still never heard of
it.
Yeah.
Meh.
If you could put it on a great weapon, I would be okay with it. I'd be like, that's kind of cute.
Yeah. If it was your units, if it was your model's weapon that you threw, absolutely agree. That's sick. You shoot the Trollhammer torpedo, then you throw the Trollhammer torpedo.
Like guys, Games Workshop, I want to be Thor. That's what if I'm taking Master Rune of Light, it's because I want to put the dwarf Thor on the table. So fix this up, guys. You can
make it not a Master Rune, and then maybe like I would play this more.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know why this is a Master Rune. Peter?
Oh, it's me. The Master Rune of Swiftness. This rune was first struck by Thorgrim the Hermit, the last runesmith to study elven crafts. It gives you strike first.
25 points.
25 points strike first.
Yeah.
Could be clutch. Master Rune of Breaking, 25 points. Any magic item carried by an enemy model that suffers one or more unsaved wounds by this weapon inscribed with the Master Rune of Breaking is destroyed and can't be used for the remainder of the game. This is kind of cute. I'm not sure if it's worth it, but it could be. I mean, I remember the days when what was the one where you switch profiles with your opponent?
The Speculum, Van Horseman's Speculum.
Van Horseman's Speculum. You're like, get rid of that. I'm just going to break your Van Horseman's. So. But as it sits right now, I can't really think of a weapon that I'd want to pay 25 points for the chance of breaking.
Ogre Blade.
I mean, like, I just don't go near that dude, right? The Ogre Blade guy doesn't go near this dude and just goes elsewhere.
It's true.
Yeah. If you could put this guy on a carpet and just fly around, just smashing other people's weapons out of their hands, that could be pretty funny. Danny.
All right. So we got Rune of Parrying, 35 points. This is the first non-master rune we're talking about. This can be combined with everything else. Any enemy model that directs its attacks against a model wielding a weapon with the Rune of Parrying suffers a -1 penalty to hit. When I'm building dwarf lists, like I'm putting this on almost every character because it does two things. It makes my character -1 to hit, and it gives them a magic weapon. And I can put it on a great weapon. So like it's just giving me all of that stuff. It's an awesome rune.
Incredible. Yeah, I think this is a banger. And like what we talked about, the Thane or the King on the Oathstone, who just like, I will not die.
Their weapon skill 6 and 7.
Dude, yes. Yeah. The best character in the game which hits this guy on like a 5. Because like most lords are 6 or 7. And so it's 4s to 5s. It's freaking buck wild, man. It's so good. All right. Eventually Peter will figure it out.
What do you want?
It's your turn. Dingus.
Oh, sorry. I got excited. Okay, so this is the Rune of Banishment. Enemy models with the Warp's Bond rule cannot make any ward saves against hits caused by a weapon inscribed with the Rune of Banishment because it was first crafted in the days of the ancestor gods. The touch of this potion, this potent rune is anathema to the creatures of chaos. It's 25 points. If you play against a lot of demons, which are a legal army in this game, or demon princes, then this is super okay.
Super okay.
Affects forest spirits.
Oh, that's true.
Ooh, that's funny.
But most of them don't have ward saves.
Mm.
Like, isn't the Dwarf spawn rule you don't get regen saves, and don't like most of the demons have? Or don't they just lose that against magic attacks anyway?
Yeah. So they would lose regen. So this is basically the only thing this is good against is the Demon Prince, which has a 4+ ward save from Chaos Armor. Or if you are playing against the Chaos Demon Legacy Army, which once again makes me believe that Chaos Demons were not supposed to be a Legacy Army.
Right.
Because there's just so many little hints that this was not supposed to be the case. But anyway, Rune of Banishment. If you really don't like demons, take it.
Yep. It's probably one that I'd also want to chuck on a Slayer.
I'd also just, honestly, I just never take it.
I would never take it.
I was lying to you guys when I said you should.
All right. Rune of Fury has an asterisk, so you can spam this guy. 25 points. For each Rune of Fury inscribed upon a weapon, the wielder has a +1 modifier to their attacks characteristic, and you can do this up to 3 times. Is that correct? So you can have +3 freaking attacks.
Yep.
Bam. Huge.
Banger.
I like it.
We got the Grudge Rune for 20 points, also an asterisk. So for each Grudge Rune described on a weapons wielder can reroll a single ticket roll of natural 1 made during the combat phase. So if you roll a lot of ones, take a lot of Grudge Runes. If you don't, maybe don't. I think it's okay.
Despite having an asterisk, this is a one-off. Like, this is just a one-off. Most of the time you hit on 3s and 4s, and you're rolling at most, if you have a bunch of Runes of Fury, like 5 or 6 dice. So average is you roll 1/1. And so cool, one Rune of Grudge is all you will ever need. So despite the asterisks, it's nonsense.
It's true. And then you have the Rune of Might for 20 points. A weapon inscribed with the Rune of Might can fell a giant flurry of blows. It's a calming rune. For each Rune of Might inscribed upon a weapon, the wielder gets +1 to strength.
Sick. Yeah, that's what I was talking about with the strength 7 breakpoint, which is a very important place to exist at if you can. Next up is the Rune of Cleaving. Rune of Might also has the asterisk, so does this one, and the next one as well. This is 15 points. Hand weapon only. For each Rune of Cleaving inspires upon the weapon, it's got increased AP by 1. This one is a banger. And once again, I think it's only a one-off. I think going from, because usually you're just going to chuck this on a great weapon, going from 2 to 3 with Armor Bane is probably everything you need. Going to 4 seems overkill.
Well, you can't chuck this on a great weapon. It's hand weapon only.
Oh, apologies. Never freaking mind.
Just read it, Adam.
I know. I didn't read the good. Okay. I'm sorry.
But
I read the bad.
I can help you a little bit. A lot of the things that can take this have Grommer weapons already, so they're already going to be AP1. So now you're popping them to AP2 with one of them, so it's legit. I kind of like it as like the anvil.
You don't get to stack Grommer weapon and this.
Oh, because it's non-magic.
Haha. I knew one
single ordinary hand weapon. Like, I think this one's just bad, guys.
I think it's terrible.
Nope. I'm going to make it work now because of this.
Dig up, Peter. We both did the bad. The Rune of Cleaving clove us both.
Make sure to put it on your Master Rune of Flight guy so he has -1 AP on his shooting. That's
Oh, shit. That's funny. That's actually pretty funny. All right, moving on. Danny boy.
We got Rune of Striking for 15 points. Every rune you have gives you +1 weapon skill. This is a cool way to turn his Thane into weapon skill 7, which is a magical. It's a magical number.
Yes, it is. When they have Rune of Parrying and Rune of Striking, they combo together beautifully.
For sure.
The Rune of Fire, struck with weapons, glows white hot, something. Rune of Fire binds heat of the forge. It's 10 points to give you flaming attacks.
Never heard of it. There may be a meta in the future where this is an okay thing to sprinkle, but right now, leave it at home.
You have runesmiths. Just take one of those.
Exactly right. You're taking them anyway. Just put them where they need to be, and who cares? Rune of Speed, 5 points, asterisk. Hand weapon only. For each Rune of Speed inscribed upon it, you get +1 initiative. Is that a place where it's hand weapon only, which makes this suck? And never heard of it. We are, apart from Ironbreakers, we are talking about crossbow and great weapon, the list is essentially how I see dwarves. So if it applies to hand weapon, it means it's probably not good. First of our armor runes is up next, Danny.
All right. So armor runes, the first one we have is the sweetest 100-point rune that you can take.
Wow.
Master Rune of Adamant. It makes you toughness 10, and it cannot
Wow.
be combined with other armor runes. That's it. You can only take that one.
And you're getting wounded on 6s by everything in the game.
Yeah.
There's several
Yes.
things you can't be wounded by.
Oh,
Correct,
that's
right?
true.
Yeah, you're just
Because-
locking out strength 2 and strength 3, right?
6 to wound on strength 2 and strength 3 does nothing. So there's a lot
Lol.
of stuff that just can't wound you. So except for killing blow.
Yeah. But this is
Oh,
the guy.
man.
This is the guy you charge out of your unit into the dragon that just someone just bounced back from, and you just keep it there the entire game. Yeah, this thing is a house. This thing is wild. Yeah. Peter.
The Master Rune of Gromroll for 45 points. In its purest form, Gromroll holds runes better than any other substance in the world.
Yikes.
It gets you a permanent armor of 2+, which cannot be improved in any other way. I like this a lot on like a
I think it's
Thane
sick.
or something. 45 points. It's great. 2+
I think
save.
it's sick.
Live your
Yeah.
life.
And to some armies, this is almost as good as the Master Rune of Adamant. Like legit. It's almost as good because they're winning you on 6s, and if it almost can be converged into I have a 2+ armor save in some matchups where they don't wheel enough AP. Yeah, I think this is great for less than half the points. Rune of Iron's up next, 35 points. A model wearing armor and scrub with this rune has +1 wound. Not a bad take, especially if you're going with the guys on the shield bearers. So they're just going to be enormous amounts. What was that? 7 wounds?
The
7
king. Yeah,
The king is 7 wounds
7.
naturally, I think, right?
Oh, it goes to 8.
Yeah.
That's pretty
knocks
good.
him to 8.
That's
The
pretty
Thane would put him to 7 because
Yeah.
it's plus the shield bearers are +3.
Really good 35 points. If you're after it, I'm not sure you need it though. I think there's better things you can do, but it still just shows how deep
Yeah,
this
it's
is.
fine.
It's a good option.
So next we have the Rune of Fortitude. This one you can stack. It's 30 points. For each Rune of Fortitude, you get +1 toughness to a maximum of 10. Also very good.
Wild.
Turning toughness 5 to toughness 6 is a nice breakpoint. There's a lot of stuff that is strength 6 in the game because that's kind of what most people are shooting for. Strength 7 is like extra good, and there's not a lot of stuff with that stat in the game. So going from being wounded on 3s to wounded on 4s is pretty nice.
I think
Or
there's
2s to 3s.
how many points do Thanes get in magic items?
75.
75.
75. So you can do fortitude and parrying as well as trying to get at. So you can
Yeah.
put them up a toughness, put them up the minus to hit. I wish you could do cleaving. The weapon skill as
one?
well.
Yeah,
Yeah, I wish you could do all 3. That would be sick. Peter. Oh no, it's me. No, it is Peter.
It's me, the Rune of Preservation. The Rune of Preservation was first struck to counter the decapitating blows of elven sword masters. Makes you immune to killing blow and the multiple wounds X special rule. If you are hit with any items that do that, you just take a single wound instead.
Pretty big into, a lot of people smashing the Yoga Blade into everything that they can. And also everyone just toting around with the Monster Slayer sword as well because it's so necessary. And then all of a sudden you just don't care.
You only have one monster. It's the Gyro Bomber. And honest to God, I told you once. Please take that, but only if I'm going to be in the same tournament with you.
All right. Master Rune of Shielding's up next. This is spammable as well. 15 points. A model wearing the armor inscribed with this has a 6+ ward save against any wound suffered. For each additional Rune of Shielding, your ward save is increased by 1. So 45 points for a 4-up ward, which you can just slap down. Pretty nice.
Yeah.
Very unique. Very unique. Or you can sprinkle this. I don't mind sprinkling 5-up around the place.
I mean, Talisman of Protection is also 30 points. And,
Exactly right. It's perfectly ongoing rate.
And you can take a bunch of Talismans of Protection in your army if you like. So.
Yep.
As long as you put another rune on it somewhere. Anyway.
Yeah, sure. Or you can just take one of them with 2 runes, right? Like that's fine.
Yeah.
All right. So you got Rune of Stone, which is 5 points. Single use for each Rune of Stone, you can reroll a single failed armor save. This is a great way. If you have a 2+ armor save, this is a great way to spend 5 points, or a 3+ armor save, even I think, just as a good way to knock out an extra 5 points that you have rolling around in your army somewhere.
Absolutely agree. You could even go wild and chuck this on Ironbreaker Sergeants and stuff like that. Yeah. I think it's a great take.
Mm-hmm.
I agree. You get the first of the talismanic runes.
The Master Rune of Calm. Okay, I gotta get this closer. My eyesight's going on me. When the power of this rune is unleashed, the winds of magic are stilled, leaving enemy wizards unable to cast even the most simple of spells.
What dwarf whispers?
Dude, I know.
The guy that made the Master Rune of Calm, he fucking knew his shit. But he was
Thoric the Quiet.
Thoric the Quiet.
Yeah, Thoric the Quiet.
And he bound a hex into this rune that's casting value 8 or 11. It's got a range of self. If you successfully cast it, enemy wizards within 18 inches of the model must increase their spell casting costs by a value of 2. If it's cast on 11 or more, if they're within 36 inches of this model, they increase their casting values by 2. And this lasts until your next start of turn subphase. So on an 8+, this is basically drain magic, but not remains in play.
Yep.
On an 11+, this is giga drain magic. So it's a pretty decent room for 50 points. The fact that it's power level 2 is kind of and it can be dispelled is also kind of But if you're in a very like heavy magic meta, a lot of people running magic missile spam or something.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't like discount throwing this on a runesmith or something instead of a couple of runes of spell breaking. It's not terrible. I think generally you're not going to do it, but it's an option.
Yeah, I agree.
Hear me out, because
Okay,
I want to make a case for this item because I think it's like kind of good. It can be amazing. So you put this on an anvil, and like the anvil is outside of 24 of your enemy's wizards, and you cast this on the first turn. Like you're denying illusion. Like if you get this off, like if you cast it on 8, like okay, it's not that good. But if you get the 11, like that makes illusion stuff go off on 11s, like right or no 13s.
13 for the big one. Yeah,
I mean that's crazy. That's like, and then also they have to deal with magic resistance, so they have to roll a 10 for a level 4 to get it off.
Yeah.
I mean, like I'm not arguing with you. I think it's cool. It's just it's a power level 2 for an 11+.
Yeah.
Right, so you need a 9.
Yeah, you're right there.
Days.
That's what sucks.
Yeah, but if it was power level 3, I'd be a little bigger on it. I'd be like, yeah, okay. Now we're getting into,
fair enough.
Now we're getting into math. That's more acceptable.
All right. Up next, we have Master Rune of Balance, 35 points. Anvil of Doom or Runesmith only. Once per turn, the bearer of the Master Rune of Balance may use it when attempting a wizardly dispel. If they do, roll an extra d6 for making the dispel roll and discard the lowest result. I think this one's pretty necessary. What do you guys think? That's pretty good.
It's good. I always worry about wizards being within 18 inches.
Yeah. The 18-inch. It's just it's so easy to keep away. I mean, I genuinely like the Master Rune of Calm, but my biggest issue is keeping your opponent outside that range, the 36, and they just walk in and deny you very easily. Is my issue with it. But Master Rune of Balance, it might just be necessary in your meta if you're playing against all the Mortis engines, all the nonsense there. This is a way to get back a little bit of that balance. But it's totally up to you if it's worth going that deep into the magic mine. Danny.
Oh, we have the Master Rune of Spite, 35 points. Each time the bearer of a Master Rune of Spite loses a wound to an enemy attack in the combat phase, that unit takes a single strength 5 hit with AP -2. It's not good. Don't take that.
It could be really funny if you just take a guy with just a bajillion extra wounds and start saying, stop hitting yourself. Like it could be real funny. But I don't think it is good at all.
Don't do it.
Peter.
The Rune of Spell Breaking. It is said that this powerful rune was first crafted by Grungni and Velaya, working as one. This is hot. So the Anvil of Doom and Dwarf Runesmiths are the only guys that can take this sucker. The bearer of a rune of spell breaking may use it instead of making a dispel attempt. If they do, the spell is automatically dispelled with no dispel roll required. Generally, when I've been theory crafting dwarves, I slap at least 2 of these on a runesmith. Agreed. And that's kind of my magic is like, I got to shut down 2 pillars of fire probably this game. Yep. And I'll just absorb everything else.
Yeah. So. Or 2, I cannot charge on my go turn illusion spells.
Or something.
Yeah. I totally think this is auto take territory, Rune of Spell Breaking. It's just so freaking necessary. Rune of Warding is up Yeah, Rune of Warding's up next. It is spammable. It's 20 points. Single use. Each Rune of Warding gives the bearer 2+ ward save against a single wound. For 20 points, it is a bit steep for what you got, what we used to get for a Charm Shield for a minuscule amount of points. I still think it's pretty good, though. And but it's something you kind of want to sprinkle and on a rainy day. Or just plan not to have something like this in your list, which is also a way of doing it.
Yep.
Yeah, there's a couple of things that are cool about this, though. You can make like a really combat-oriented king and then throw 40 points or 60 points of these on him. So he's got 3 2+ ward saves. That's definitely not terrible. Anyway, it's not a bad rune at all.
20 points, though, it just seems a bit rough for me.
2+ ward save is amazing.
It is.
Anyway.
It is amazing. It is amazing. Yeah, whatever. I'm wrong. Dang.
I don't think you're wrong. You're not right.
Some kind of new middle, right? Some kind of new middle selection has been uncovered.
Sorry. Am I up? Rune of Luck, 15 points, single use. You can use it to reroll a single hit, wound, or failed armor save roll. So for 15 points, it's fine. I don't know. You can take a bunch of them if you want to. It's nice and versatile over like the Rune of Stone, which just gives you an armor save reroll. This lets you reroll it to hit or to wound if like you really need to.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's kind of a versatile little rune. It's not bad. Straight
up, I like this more than the Rune of Warding. If you take it on the guy that has, a 3-up or a 2-up already, this is just another, blank a save. Because of course the Rune of Warding, you still roll a freaking 1 on it. But this has the modality of, helping you spike up on a go turn.
Mm-hmm.
He gets the Furnace. Go on, Peter.
Rune of the Furnace. 5 points. Intended to aid dwarves working art forges. This rune has been adapted for use in battle.
Wow.
It gives you a 3+ ward save against any wounds suffered by flaming attacks. So, like, if flaming attacks become a big deal again, this thing is awesome. If they don't, never take it.
Yeah, you got me with that opener. That was great. Why do the worst runes have the best Peter lines? Anyway, Rune of Passage, 5 points. The Rune of Passage bearer gains the move through cover special rule, and a unit joined by the bearer also gain the move through cover special rule. Should the bearer leave the unit for any reason, this unit loses this rule. So for 5 points, you can make a quarrelers into rangers, is what I read this as.
You can do a lot.
You can do a lot, but that's where I think the best home for it is, right? You're taking rangers, you're taking quarrelers. You want more rangers, but you can't afford them. 5 more points, you can get some of the same efficiencies on that unit also.
It's just good if you have 5 extra points on a character to give your unit move through cover. Yeah,
correct. Yeah. It's just a liberator, undo the shackles. Standard runes are up next. Danny's going to kick us off.
So we're going to start with the standard rune, the Master Rune of Grungy. It's 80 points. It's only takeable by battle standard bearers. A unit carrying the standard inscribed with the Master Rune of Grungy is a 5-up ward save against any wounds suffered. In addition, while within 6 inches of the model carrying the standard, friendly units have a 6-up ward save against any wounds suffered in the shooting phase. God,
Busted.
This thing is awesome.
Busted. Auto take. Slap it in. So freaking strong, man.
Yeah.
The fact that, this gives you BSB, the 5-up ward as well. So you can almost take 30 points off the price of this for the Talisman of Preservation. Yep. So 50 points to give a whole freaking unit a 5-up and then everyone else a 6-up. And of course, you will be running this guy in such a way that a minimum one other unit gets a 6-up. If not, you're running this with a unit next to it and a unit in front of it, playing Linehammer, Chicanery, and then just min-maxing the absolute shit out of this. I think this thing incredible. Yep. Might be one of the best standards in the game. Might be top 3 standards in the game.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's quite good.
PD, baby.
The Master Rune of Stromney Redbeard. The rune was first carried onto the battle standard of Dugan, son of Grind, son of Grimnir. When calculating its combat result, any friendly unit within the command range of this model carrying the standard inscribed with the Master Rune of Stromney Redbeard may claim an additional bonus of +1 to their combat resolution. So it's a war banner for everyone.
Correct. And when I said war banner previously on the Ironbreaker unit, this is the one obviously I meant. I couldn't remember what his name was at the time.
Yeah.
Stromney Redbeard just doesn't stick into mind.
Yeah, because this isn't battle standard locked. So rather than taking the 25-point war banner one, because Hammerers and Iron Breakers, I believe, both can take a 75, and I might be wrong about one of those. You just slap this as their standard, and now everybody within 9 or 10 inches is getting this love.
Yeah, freaking strong. Really good. Master Rune of Hesitation is up next for 45 points. An enemy unit that charges the front arc of a unit carrying this standard does not count as having charge for the purposes of choosing which weapons to use or any special rules it may have. So they still get the initiative bonus, though, right, for the charge?
Yeah.
Yeah. That would have been the biggest thing to circumnavigate, but still pretty good. But for 45, it is steep when compared to the fact that you are very likely taking, a minimum of 80 points in Magic Standards already. So how far you're willing to go with those is a bit rough. Although if you literally just play in Pegasus meta, maybe it gets some value.
There's a lot of wonky stuff with the Rune of Hesitation. I do think we probably need an FAQ to its full effects, because it's very strong for a lot of reasons, right? Like technically, this shuts down all sorts of shit, impact hits, and potentially initiative bonuses. Like there's a lot. Anyway,
yeah, it's too open-ended what happens. And of course, I was wrong when I said Pegasus meta because they're just never going to charge you in the freaking front, right? So it doesn't matter. But yeah, interesting. This has so many interesting applications. Danny.
So then we have the Master Rune of Hesitation's baby brother, the Rune of Confusion, at 35 points. Any enemy unit that charges the front arc of a unit carrying a standard inscribed through Confusion makes a disorder charge, so no initiative bonus on the charge.
This one I just feel like is better. I
don't know. Shutting down impact hits and rules like that, it's pretty powerful. Furious Charge gets shut off by Rune of Hesitation.
Well, mate, when you factor in what this does, when you factor in what this does to hammerers who strike at initiative with their great weapons, I think this is pretty sick.
Oh, I think it's good too. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying I think Rune of Hesitation is just as good, if not better. But because it does shut down a lot of shit, and there's also a bunch of shit that it might shut down and it might not. Like we just have to wait and see.
We do. Peter, continue.
The Rune of Fear. Those that carry this banner to battle seem to tower over the enemy, looming like mythical giants. Gives you fear.
Fantastic. All right. Rune of Battle up next to 25 points. When calculating the combat result, a unit carrying a standard inscribed with the Rune of Battle may claim an additional bonus of +1. So this is definitely the budget Master Rune of Stromny, and you should definitely consider it. I think this is good. When you don't have the extra 50 freaking points to take the aura version, this is just fine.
Or just take it and double up if you're going like
take both
hammerers and iron breakers. Because I just doubled back to check. Yeah, iron breakers can only take a 50-point standard, so give them this. Put the hammerers beside them with the big boy, and now your iron breakers have static +2 combat res. Not terrible.
Yeah, plus ranks. Yeah, it's pretty sick. Danny.
It's really good. So we got Sterlizer's Rune next at 25 points. It gives your unit Vanguard. So for 25 points, you can let your unit move 3 inches before the game starts.
Yeah, I really feel like this should have been 3 points.
Yes.
Yeah.
For the 3 inches. Yeah.
Yeah.
If only there was a relevant unit that this made a difference to. It really bothers me that it's only 3 inches. If they could have just said a 6-inch Vanguard move would have been a game freaking changer. But 3 inches, I just don't think touch the sides. Peter, you got the last one.
The Rune of Courage for 15 points. This inspirational rune from... Oh my God. Further bolsters the already considerable courage of all dwarves near it. You automatically pass fear and terror tests if you have this. It's okay.
You lead 9 or minimum in your army, if not lead 10. I'm not sure this is worth it either.
So I think if vampires are a problem, maybe.
True. Yes. Yeah. Scream
that
down.
Might be,
Yep.
That might be it. Like, because, they're stacking a bunch of stuff and leadership is going to be -1 from terror and all sorts of other bullshit. Mm-hmm. So this might help. But
it's also the cheapest way to duplicate runes.
Mm.
Fair.
So
Yeah,
like
actually.
if you want another Rune of Confusion or something like that, then like you can pay
That's
15
true.
points and take it again.
All right. Master Rune of Immolation, the first of the engineering runes. This is 30 points. Cannon only, single use. If a cannon inscribed with this rune loses this last wound to an enemy attack during the combat phase, it may be exploded by its crew. Every enemy unit in best contact with this model suffers D6 strength 5 hits with an AP of 2. The cannon is then...
Oh, Lenny,
Okay.
calm down.
Spicy boy. Spicy.
He's just mad at life.
Yeah.
Doesn't like it when cannons explode.
Nope.
No,
Real
I don't
mad
like
about
it. I
cannons.
don't like it for 30 points either. I think this is...
No,
this
I
is
think this
rough
should
as
be
guts for 30 points.
66 strength 5 hits, and then I might.
Yeah, correct. The fact that it's like...
Oh, he's real mad about it.
He's super mad. The fact that it's D6, like you get charged by 5 Goblin Wolf Riders, and you're like, yeah, I paid 30 points for this. It's going to happen. And you roll a 1, and then you roll a 2 to wound, or like a 1 to wound, and you're like, shit, 30 points down the freaking drain. Yeah, do not invest in this. It's not worth it.
Agreed. So the next one we have is Master of Disguise. It's 25 points. A War Machine inscribed with the Master of Disguise is always considered to be in full cover.
That's interesting.
Yeah, it's fine.
Yeah.
So what does that equate to on the table? Extra minus to hit, essentially?
Yeah, an additional -2 to hit.
Yep.
From shooting.
Yep. I mean, in the Dwarf Mirror match, it's big. Yeah, baby. Oh,
Yep.
boy.
Unless
We
they
all love
shoot you with the
that match.
cannon.
Yeah, unless they shoot you with the cannon.
In which case, who cares?
The Rune of Skewering for 20 points. During the War of the Beard, the elves paid dearly for their help in crafting this rune. Can only be put on a bolt thrower. If you put it on that bolt thrower, it gets +1 to strength, and no armor saves are allowed against shots made by that bolt thrower. It's I think if you take a bolt thrower, you put this on it and live your best life.
Legitimately, if you're taking a bolt thrower, you're taking it for this rune, because I think that one bolt thrower is sick. It's really good. The next one is like 40% worse than this one. The Rune of Forging is up next with an asterisk, so spammable, 15 points. Single use, a war machine described with the Rune of Forging may use it to reroll a single misfire on the artillery dice. Not a bad idea. Not generally a bad idea. If you're not forking out for the engineer, I don't mind this at all. If you're forking out for the engineer, leave it at home, I think.
Yeah, I agree with all that. That makes total sense. Rune of Burning. A war machine inscribed with the Rune of Burning gets the flaming attacks roll for 10 points. I think this is great because it not only gives them flaming attacks, but also since it's a rune on War Machine, it gets magic attacks.
Yeah.
Yep.
And can cause a lot of panic in chaff units.
For sure.
A lot of them, beasts and nonsense. Couldn't be cool for 10 points. I mean, what happens if you put this on a flame cannon? Do you extra flame? Do you flaminate the flaminators? Do you become Trogdor?
Flame cannons can't take weapon or engineering runes.
Well, that's just disappointing. I want a double flaming.
Twice.
I want double flaming attacks. You're up next, Pete.
The Rune of Reloading for 5 points. War machines inscribed with this rune are almost sentient in their willingness to allow repairs. So if you take this and you get you're not allowed to shoot, you can shoot.
I actually quite like it for 5 points. I wish it was spammable. I wish you could take multiples.
Yeah, I like it, especially if you're planning. This is the one I like for if you're trying to put runes on multiple war machines.
Yeah.
Yeah, you just throw this on your cannon on top of something else and you're good.
I like it actually a lot more on the organ gun again, because you just have more ways, more opportunities to roll a misfire and be out of the game next turn.
You can't take weapon runes on organ guns either. Sorry. Yeah, I agree. If you could do that, I would totally take it on organ gun.
Put it on your cannon. Just put it on a cannon.
It is just going on a cannon.
Air cannon or your stone thrower. If you're taking a grudge thrower, it's okay on that too.
Happy you boys are here to keep me aligned. Yeah. Fine print is not my forte. Stalwart Rune is the last one for 5 points. When calculating its combat result, a war machine inscribed with a Stalwart Rune may claim a bonus of +1 to its combat res. It's just hilarious that they took time to write those words and print those words. As far as I can tell, that rune says nothing. And we are done with all the runes, and what a journey. Some of the best freaking magic anythings in the game exist in this pile.
Oh, yeah.
Wowee. Are there 70. The usual, like everyone gets their 175 point super duper thing. These guys get 4, and they're all in the best of their variant in the game. Like best attack for D6 damage, best defense, toughness 10, best banner, freaking best. Yeah, so wild. Really, really, really strong stuff. And then even the mid-band stuff is very, very, very good.
Yeah. I mean, like you have so much customization, and like you can really make a character to do exactly what you need them to do. You're only limited by that first characteristic.
Yes.
So if you can make your opponent, if you can get into combat or make your opponent get into combat, dwarves are living their best life.
So the one big miss, the one huge miss is that they're, apart from the single rune of freaking Vanguard, which is utter trash, the banner that gives +1 combat res and the aura should have been +1 move and aura. And that would have been 100 points of worth it. And that would have unlocked a lot of the army, or at least made it feel so much better. Because ostensibly, there is nothing in this apart from Stroller's Rune that increases movement or dynamic in any way. Everything is just, I'm already a good, durable combat army, and now everything in here just makes me more good or more durable. Where's the things that give me and allow me to do something, special, spicy? And that's what I think the only aspect is missing.
Yeah. I mean, you get to move twice with the anvil, so you can move a dwarf unit 24 inches if you want to.
Yeah, and get entirely surrounded and annihilated before the rest of the army catches up to support. I wish you could still charge off if you could still charge off the rune, 100%.
Oh yeah,
120%. We should have mentioned that, by the way. You can't. You used to be able to just move yourself into combat with the move off the anvil, which is now no longer the case. And that was such a big deal, just hitting a flank and just guaranteeing things happen. But we're into the special rules. And Peter, tell us about the first one, because I know you're going to enjoy the flavor text.
Well, sure. I think the big thing about this is we've kind of already covered most of them.
Yeah, we
but
did.
Sure. Death Blow.
I don't think we talked about Death Blow.
It's a special thing Slayers get because they're bitter fighters who seek their doom in battle, yet they're so fierce in their pride and so sacred are the vows of the Slayer cult that they are incapable of accepting their fate graciously.
How can you read utter nonsense like the Rune of Luck and Warding and stuff with such passion and Death Blow so mediocre an effort?
Adam, I think you just need to understand that Slayers, upon their death, will use their final breath to strike at their foe. And what the special rule does is when you are knocked down to 0 wounds by an enemy attack in combat phase, the unit that made that attack suffers a strength 3 AP 1 hit.
Sucks.
And I wish it was better. I wish it was the strength of the user.
Yeah, I don't understand why it's. Yeah, I don't understand why it's a strength 3. I don't understand. It's their last swing before death. Surely it should be like strength 4, strength 5. Hell, make it a great weapon swing. Make it something relevant, because this is just a rule that is just trash, and it really annoys me. It should be a lot better.
Or they take a single wound on a 4+ at AP 1, like kind of like
take
the Slayer rule. Yeah,
yep.
Just deal with it, guys.
We have Cover Dwarf Crafted, which is ignoring the -1 modifier for standard shoot. Grumble Armor, of course, reroll a natural saving roll of a 1. We're making Arbor saves. Grumble Weapon is just you get AP 1 on you, which is one of the best rules that they have. It's so freaking good. And Resolute is also covered as well for the Flee and Pursuit stuff. But Danny, Rune Lore is one we need to talk about a little bit.
Yeah, so Rune Lore basically this is what runesmiths have, and it allows you to make a Wizardly Dispel. So for Wizardly Dispel attempts, an Anvil of Doom counts as a level 3, a Rune Lord counts as a level 2, and a Runesmith counts as level 1 wizard.
Bada bing, bada boom, we are done. The Dwarven Mountain Holds reviewed in their entirety, cover to cover, in more depth than I think we've gone to in previously. I really think we smashed it out of the park with the unit entries.
Oh, yeah.
But hopefully we gave you guys as extensive coverage of this army book as we can. But now we're going to go into our closing thoughts and rating of the book. PD Baby, closing thoughts and give it a rating out of 10 as how happy you believe Dwarf players should be with this army book.
I think that this book does a lot of really cool things. It's got some really good units. It just doesn't play the game the same way anybody else does, and therefore is very hard to play well. or boring to play well. In both situations, not great. I give it a 5 out of 10.
Yeah, so it gets a pass mark, but not
you
by
can
much.
win. You can win games with this for sure. You could probably even win a tournament with this. I don't think there's a whole lot of overall exciting stuff. There's good stuff in it though.
Danny.
Movement 3 is a killer for this list, and not really having a lot of fast moving units is a real bummer. So I would rate this as like maybe a 6. I think that it's a really fun army, and like the rules are very characterful. It's just right now in the game, the way that the game is played, I think really doesn't, like Peter said, doesn't really suit this army.
Yeah, I got to echo use both, but I am going to put it up one more mark than both of you. I'm going to go 7 out of 10 because as far as a book that feels like dwarfish, this thing feels dwarfish as fuck. It is dwarf steeping dwarfness. Mm-hmm. If you are a dwarf player, dwarf enjoyer, everything you love about dwarves, you can do 11 out of 10 with this book. It is everything that dwarf players want thematically and feel. But when it comes to logistically playing on the table, it, like you guys say, it just falls on its face. It doesn't have the activations, doesn't have the movement, doesn't have the dynamics, doesn't have the things that you need. Like I think about the brutality of the top end of the metagame where, cool, this list kind of does fine into some of the more brutal lists where it can just get into a grindy matchup versus, say, vampire accounts and actually do respectively well, but then has literally nothing for Peg Knights, like nothing it can do against Peg Knights. They're just going to run circles around you, kill all your small units, and win by 500 points whilst having not actually played the game with you at all. And that kind of stuff is where I really fear for the enjoyment of dwarf players. And then, if they go the other extent and just like Uncle Bunga, here's 9 war machines, well, the joy is just not there for other players. So yeah, still the same issues they had in 7th edition, 8th edition, where one player gets to enjoy the game versus dwarves. It's either the dwarf player or not the dwarf player. And very rarely are 2 players having the equal amount of joy whilst playing the game. But in saying that, like, it's undeniably dwarfish as hell, like this book. Everything that people love about dwarves, you can do so much of in this book, as much as you like. So that's why I give it a high pass, because at least it feels like a dwarf, extremely like a dwarf. Because it has downsides, just like dwarves do. But on that note, we are going to wrap this one up. Please come and join us over on part 2, which I've got to spruik at the start. You can find us over on Patreon at Old World Charm. And join in. You can ask us questions where we have a freaking deluge of dwarf questions from our lovely patrons, which we're going to be answering over on the other side. So hopefully you'll join us there. Our community is extremely positive and lovely, and we are proud of it. So hopefully you'll want to be a part of it too. Peter and Danny, any cool or interesting content you guys have consumed you want to shout out?
I've been neck deep in school. I haven't, unfortunately, been able to really consume any old world content this week. I really wish that I could, but yeah. Anyway,
what a nerd.
Yeah,
yeah.
What about you, Peter?
Well, I'm not in school, but I'm a single father of 3. So some weeks I have a lot of time to do stuff, and some weeks I have 0. And this was a 0 week for me, where anytime I did have for free, I was theory hammering lists, playing games against friends like Mr. Dannison McGee here. And didn't have a lot of time to consume other people's content. And to be honest, our content's better anyway. So
fair.
Yikes. I did see I was a bit busy, but I was at the gaming arena in Victoria, and I saw the 2 of the Dwellers Below lads playing a game. I didn't have time because I was running in to get to the pairings table before we kicked off. But I didn't have time to say g'day, but it was freaking nice listening to them and this past week's show where they're talking about how to choose a new army and what are the pros and cons of every army in the game at the moment, which I thought was really cool. Great episode, guys. And go check out those other lovely Aussies at the Dwellers Below. Otherwise, we will see you next freaking week. I may be absent next week. I do apologize. I'm going to be at the GW event in Dallas, although we may get one piped out before I take off. But see you later, alligator. That's all for today, and see you on the other side.
Bye-bye.
You've been listening to That Old World Charm with those charming chaps, Adam, Danny, and Peter the Falcon. Thanks ever so much. Cheerio.